Hello everyone, this is Aman, and in this video tutorial I'm going to show you guys how to set up site-to-site VPN using pfSense and WireGuard with AWS VPC. So here we are in AWS network. So we have a private server running which is only on, it's a private hosted, so there is no public IP, no IPv6, literally we have nothing in here. So what we're going to do in here, we like to access this server through from another network inside, let's just say it's on another data center as a site-to-site VPN. So this is how we're gonna do. First we need to set up a VPN server inside this VPC network. So we have to create a EC2 server on a public AZ location or public routed table inside this VPC. So we have cloud VPC. Here we have CIDR, so we created new CIDR instead of using the default one, and we also have IPv6 subnet. So now inside the subnet section we have multiple subnets. So we have location A, private and public subnet. Also we have location B, private and public subnet. And inside the route tables, we have public route table and private route table. So the private route table, we cannot access it we cannot access any internet, since we do not have any net gateway or any other things configured. So it basically can accept the connection from internet and check the server from using site-to-site VPN or AWS VPN or whatever we're gonna set up later. So inside the public route tables, as you can see, we can access internet, and we also can access the IPv6 internet. So basically we're gonna host the VPN server inside these public route tables. So inside these public route tables we have subnet associated with these two. So basically we're gonna host a EC2 instance any of those two networks. So let's create a EC2 instance first. Launch instance. So let's give its name WireGuard Server, and we're gonna pick Ubuntu 20 should be fine. Then T2 micro, this is fine. Keep here, let's add a keep here. Network section, we're gonna edit the network and we're gonna change our VPC to the VPC we're using. This is the important part. Make sure you select the public zone. So we selected public B, totally fine. Auto is in public IP address, yes. I'm gonna disable it for now because I'm gonna attach a elastic IP address, but you can literally enable it. Let's enable it for now. Also the IPv6, yes. Then existing, we have to add a security group. So in security group I'm gonna attach, I have already created a security group before. So in security group I created WireGuard traffic actually, which is VPN, net VPN. So if you check let's check the traffic, security group rules in here, in security group, then VPN SG. So here if you can see inbound, so inbound we added UDP port 51820. This is what we're gonna use for our WireGuard traffic. And also the outbound rules is literally open for everything. And additionally we're gonna add another firewall which is called inter VPC communications. So inside this security group we added that all traffic should be available for the VPC subnet itself. So that means it can communicate with all other resources inside this VPC. And also the outbound rule is same, and this rules is also attached to our private server, otherwise it will not accept any connection from anywhere. So here if you can check networking section, you can see that security section, you can see the inter VPC communication access is enabled. The another rule is configured, but it's not gonna do anything because we have no internet access to this this route, this EC2 instance. So let's go back to the setup. We added the VPN port, then we're gonna add inter VPC communication access one, and I'm gonna add SSH access. The SSH rules is actually within this rules, so it's gonna allow me connect using SSH port 22, and let's give storage like 10 gigs. So everything is okay. Let's launch the instance, then view all instance, refresh. Okay, that's the instance. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna assign and allocate an IP address. Actually we have an IP address in here, elastic IP address. So we're gonna attach this IP address with the server that we created a few minutes ago. So let's refresh a couple of times. Okay, now it's showing. So we're gonna attach it to WireGuard Server, associate. So this is our server IP address. Now let's go back to the server again. So before we start, we need to do one more thing. So in console, we're gonna right click on the server, then in networking, then we're gonna check change source and destination check, and we're gonna click stop. So we will use this server as a VPN. This is why we are telling AWS not to check destination and source. So let our server start. We're gonna connect using SSH, then we're gonna set up the WireGuard server. Okay, let's try to connect our server using SSH. Okay, we are inside in our server. Let's sudo su and let's start building the WireGuard server. So we're gonna do apt update. Then we're gonna install WireGuard. Apt install WireGuard, and also you can install another package which you probably need in case if you like to use AWS VPC DNS server. So this is optional, it's up to you if you really need it, because some people also have their private hosted Route 53 zone. So in such case they also need that. So we're gonna install resolve conf package, and then let's add y. Sorry, we have misspelled the resolve conf. Okay, so we're gonna confirm, press y. Okay, so we install WireGuard and resolve config. So now we're gonna clear screen. Okay, we're gonna deploy the WireGuard configuration. So first, you need to set up you need to generate a public and private key. So you can actually do it like inside this server, like wg gen key, and then you can create the key in here. Also, if you find it difficult, then you can actually do do this WireGuard configuration online. Sorry. So you can see wireguardconfig.com. Here you can actually use this configuration. So basically you can build the whole configuration file from here. So we're gonna configure that. So let's do it. The listen port 51820, number of clients. So there will be 2 clients, basically the server and the WireGuard pfSense network. So we can put 2, but let's put 3. in case we need to troubleshoot it. CIDR. So this is the important part. Make sure the CIDR should not overlap with the network you have inside VPC, and also the other part, which is probably your pfSense network. So you need to use some network it would not overlap any of the site to site. So let's use it let's use 192.168.0/24. I think that would be fine. Then client allowed IP address. So here's the interesting part. So in this section you are telling that which network can be reachable through this VPN. So the IP address would be the VPC IP address. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go VPC, then here we're gonna go CIDRs, then we're gonna just copy this, then we're gonna post this in here, then also copy this one, then we're gonna add a comma. Sorry. Actually, I to recopy again. Make sure there is no extra space. Okay. So now we telling the client that this network can be accessible through the site-to-site tunnel. Now we need to tell that what would be the server IP address whenever someone gonna connect this network. So here you can actually use DDNS, but we're gonna replace this with our public IP address of the server. So let's go back to the server. We can see the public IP address. So we're gonna just replace it in here, and the DNS. So here is the optional. This is optional, but some people need to connect AWS VPC DNS. So in that case, you need to know what is the VPC DNS. So the VPC DNS is mostly, you can see this IP address of your VPC. So let's just say here, if I check, if I type IPA, you can see my IP address for this server. So it's actually started with 271. So the VPC DNS server is addressed mostly this one and the second IP address. So we can actually use this one as and second IP address. But if you like to be 100% sure that which one is your VPC DNS IP address, then you can use this GitHub repository, and actually you can find following this. Let's do it. So we're gonna do Linux. So we're gonna copy the zip file. We probably need to install zip, unzip. So we downloaded that repository. Then it says unzip whatever it is, AWS VPC. So we unzipped, then we entered that directory. So okay, it's in here. Move AWS. Okay, we're gonna move it. Then, I mean, this is optional part. You can actually skip it if you don't need the DNS. Then if we enter this command, it's gonna let us know what is the actual DNS IP address. As you can see, the DNS IP address is the second IP address of your VPC. So we're gonna copy this one and put it in here. Then in post up rules, so we need to find our interface name. If we type IPA or ifconfig, then we can see the name is ETH0. In some case, someone will be ENS3 or ENS160. So make sure you replace this one with this section. And once you have everything, you're gonna click generate configuration. And here is the configuration you have. So we're gonna copy the configuration for the server. Then let's go back to the EC2 instance. Then we're gonna create a configuration file inside the WireGuard folder. So etc WireGuard, and let's say wg0.conf, enter. Then we're gonna paste it. Okay, it actually looks like the format is actually very bad. Anyway, I just trimmed up a little bit, and Ctrl+X, Y, save. So now we have WireGuard configuration ready. There's a one more thing we need to do before starting the WireGuard server. So we need to tell the Ubuntu that it should forward traffic. So etc, we're gonna edit nano etc cctl conf. Then we're gonna uncomment this IPv4 forwarding. Then if you need IPv6 forwarding, then you can also uncheck IPv6 forwarding, but we're not gonna actually use IPv6, but still we're gonna open it. Ctrl+X, Y, enter. Then we're gonna print it, cctl -p to check. So we can see these two are the active configuration right now. So we are pretty much done in here. So we're gonna now enable the WireGuard server. So wg weak, then up wg0. So we turned on the WireGuard server, and if we like to see what's inside, what's going on with WireGuard, so wg show wg0. So we can see these are the clients. And if you like to auto start the WireGuard server every time the server boots up, so systemctl enable wg quick @wg0. So this will automatically start up the WireGuard server. So we have pretty much configured our server. Now all we need to do is to set up the pfSense network. So let's go to the network where we have pfSense installed. So this is the pfSense server, and this is one of the pfSense client. Actually, I connected with RDP. So we're gonna install WireGuard client inside this network. Inside this pfSense. Then we're gonna connect that AWS server. So we're gonna go package manager. Then we're gonna go available package manager. Then we're gonna install WireGuard, and then we're gonna install WireGuard from here. It's gonna take a minute probably. Okay, it's installed. If we check install package, we can see WireGuard is installed. So now we're gonna go back to VPN section, WireGuard section, settings section, enable WireGuard, save. So now we are ready to set up the WireGuard tunnel. So let's click on tunnel. Then we're gonna add a tunnel. In description, let's say WireGuard client. Listen port, that's fine, 51820. So interface key. So actually you can generate key right from here. Then you can copy this key back to your AWS EC2 server. So but in our case, we actually created the key in here. So we can actually give any of this to the server. So let's give client 2. We can actually give this one. So this is the private key. Let's copy this private key, then use this private key, and you can see the public key is already generated because we have the private key. And this private keys also exist in here, as you can see. Public keys exist in here. So let's go back, and then interface IP address. We're not gonna give any interface IP address right now. We're gonna just save tunnel for now. Then we're gonna go back to the peer. Then in peer we're gonna add a peer. So the tunnel will be this one, the one we created few seconds ago, and let's give its name AWS VPC peering. Endpoint dynamic. So instead of dynamic, we're gonna check the endpoint, uncheck the dynamic. Then we're gonna endpoint. So inside the endpoint, it should be the server IP address. So where is the server IP address? As you can see, this is the server IP address and the port number 51820. So endpoint and 51820, and we should configure the keep alive, because the EC2 server is behind the net. So we can put 25. That should be keep the system alive in case anything. Since this is the UDP, it can drop anytime. And the public key of server. So we're gonna copy the public key of server. So server public key, which is where this is the server public key. Here we put the public key, and we do not have any pre-shared configured. This is additional security, so not needed for now. And the IP address configuration, allowed IP address NP will be turned from into proper subnet service. Okay, so if we like to add WireGuard, we need to, if we like to publish this subnet to that VPN, then we also need to add this in here. So in allowed section, we're gonna put the network which you already had in here. So we're gonna copy this one actually. So it's actually 16. We'll make sure we remove this one, and we can also copy this, which is 56. I think that's it for now. Save the peer, and before we're gonna apply changes, we need to create interface and then firewall rules and other things. So let's do settings, tunnels. Let's check up again. So interface assignment. Okay, so interface, okay, it's not showing. We need to save it first, then we can see the assignment option. So okay, it's saved. Now we're gonna go back to interface assignments. As you can see, available network is WireGuard is available. So we're gonna enable the interface, and let's give its name WGC. Then IP configuration type, we're gonna give select static IPv4, and since we are not going to configure IPv6, we're gonna skip and we're gonna set it none. MTU, you can set the MTU probably 1390. It's depending on up to you, but I'm gonna leave it empty for now. And the static IPv configuration. So if we check the client IP, which was configured as was the IP address. Okay, this is the IP address we have for this one. This client. So we're gonna put this IP address, and it's gonna be 32. So it should be 24 actually. Then the gateway should be the same IP address. So add gateway. Let's give its name WGC GW, gateway IP address, add, and I think that's it. Save, apply. So it's saved. Now let's go back to the VPN, and we're going to review the setting again. So here we have port, we have everything, we have assignments now, interface now, and we have also the peer. So let's review the peer again. So 51820 the port number, then we have AWS VPC. Okay, so we have literally VPN server and client configured. One thing we need to configure, which is firewall. So let's go back to the firewall settings and rules. You can see in WireGuard client there is no rules, so we're gonna create a rule. So we're gonna add a rule, and then we're gonna telling that if whatever traffic, so we are actually doing IPv4, but we can do IPv4 and IPv6, and we can do any traffic, then any address, any source, anything. You can put everything in here just like as it is, and you can tell that allow all WireGuard traffic, maybe save, apply. So WireGuard traffic is configured. Now we're gonna check if we can ping the IP address of VPN server. So VPN server IP address is 192.168.68.1. Let's ping. If the connection is established, we should see the ping. Otherwise, we need to review the network setting. Before we ping, we need to do one more thing. Since it's site to site, so we need to go back to the server. Then we need to turn off WireGuard. And we can edit the configuration file. And then here we actually can assign the IP address of other subnet. So the other subnet is 192.168, which is 1.0/24 network. Now enter Y, and then we can turn on the WireGuard again. So WireGuard server is turned on. So now we're gonna do the test. Let's go back to pfSense. Oh, we forget to create a firewall rules for accepting the WAN traffic for WireGuard server. So we're gonna add a traffic rule. Then in WAN address, the port is other. We can set 51820. 51820. Redirect IP address. This firewall itself actually, WAN address, redirect IP address to WAN address, and 51820. I think that's it. We're gonna recheck again. So okay, this should be UDP, sorry. Then it should be the destination source, destination address. We can say WAN address, which is fine. Then the port number of WireGuard running in this pfSense, which is this one, 51820. Redirect IP address, also I think yeah, that's fine. Actually we don't need to configure in NAT, we can actually go in rules. Then we're gonna add the rules in top. Okay, here in rules section we're gonna add IPv4 or IPv6. Then we're gonna say UDP, destination, which is WAN address, then the destination port, which should be 51820, 51820, and now we say, let's say WireGuard, yeah, WireGuard site to site. Save, is on top, apply changes. So let's wait a couple of seconds, then we're gonna start testing. Now we're gonna create a static route so that pfSense can talk with the AWS VPC network. So let's go to the routing section. And then we're gonna add a routing. and inside the routing we're gonna select WGC WireGuard client and IPv4. So let's give its name AWS VPC. AWS SGW static gateway, and gateway IP address should be the IP address of the client. So the IP address of client was this one, 192.168.2. Then save. Okay, already in use. I'm going to check again. Actually we should create static routing, not gateway. So inside static routing we're gonna destination network. So destination network address is for static routing. We're gonna use the address from here, this one, and then we're gonna select the gateway is the WireGuard gateway, AWS VPC subnet. Let's save it. Oh, so it should be in 16. Save, apply. And we actually forgot one more thing in WireGuard section. In peering section we should also add the WireGuard own network subnet, which is 192.168.68.0/24. Otherwise we cannot talk with another client. Save peer, apply, and we have pretty much everything configured, and we can actually do testing. So let's do some ping. So we ping our WireGuard server, which is the WireGuard gateway IP address actually. So we able to communicate the WireGuard gateway IP address. Now we gonna try to communicate one of our EC2 instance. Let's say if we can find any IP address. So this is the private IP address of our private server. So let's copy the IP address and let's try to ping it. I'm not sure, maybe we're not able to ping it because we haven't added any firewall rules for ping. Maybe actually we added the rules, I think. Yeah, the rules is actually added. So inside that AWS EC2 server we have a Nginx server running. So we actually gonna try to visit it from this what's called the Windows machine. So let's try to open the IP address. As you can see, this is the private. We can see the content of that private network. So this is how you can actually set up site-to-site VPN. So now we can see that pfSense can now communicate with AWS network, but we also need to make sure that the AWS can communicate the pfSense network. So let's stop. Okay, so now we're gonna ping the IP address of pfSense network. So 192.168 pfSense LAN IP address 1.1. As you can see, we can ping the pfSense network, and if let's get the IP address of pfSense, this server IP address, which is a part of pfSense network. So if we check the status, we can see this is the Windows VM IP address 1.151. So we're gonna ping that one from AWS EC2 server. We probably need to open Windows Firewall. Yeah, we cannot ping it because we need to open Windows Firewall. So yeah, this is pretty much the configuration, how to set up pfSense with AWS VPC as a site-to-site VPN using WireGuard VPN. So if this video helped you, I would expect you guys would have a like in this video and subscribe our channel. Thank you.